Started here. Thank you all for coming out and council. So we don't have to do invocation or pledge allegiance. Thanks, Bonnie, for letting me know that. All right, but I'm calling the meeting to order 5:31. Okay, we'll get a roll call for me, Miss Brenda.
All right. Ms. Mendez?
Here.
Mr. Hibbert? Here. Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Ms. Enlow?
Here.
Ms. Portman? Here. Ms. Mangus?
All right. Okay, so obviously it's a special meeting, and this is all concerning our budget. I know we've had workshops, and we've had some individual conversations with each of you, talking to each of the department heads and Tanya. And then we spent some time there. Today, obviously, the council wanted to have, come on, sit down with us, Ms. Tanya. So what I want to do is, obviously, I want to leave it open a little bit. I know we've had our discussions with each of the department heads, and you guys had a chance to do some things. But before we get going on anything you want, I want to bring up a couple of things that, just want to highlight some things on some of the numbers that we actually have in front of you. Obviously, you do know about the ARPA money that's going to actually be carried over, because that money has not been spent, and we've got things allocated for that. Tanya and I are working on, with Arthur and them, to get that money as part of the restoration of the downtown area. 30 million, since we actually have a check in our hand, we signed the paperwork, we get our first draw next week. With that has to be actually carried into this budget. We can have a draw next week, we're not going to. And then we have forwarded over a rollover. And again, it's a projected number. Tanya, we're trying to give you the best accurate number on rollover. I can tell you, looking at some of the previous years, we've always had plenty there. That number looks a little low, but one step, I'd rather be low, right? And that gives you that first part of the resources. I do want to mention on occupational tax, if you look at your occupational 15.7, see that number there? That is the number that we are actually using as this year's. It's the same number as the number from the last budget. And the reason why, we didn't want to project that. We actually know between some of the companies that actually are coming in, the occupational tax is going to be considerably more, anywhere between $750,000 to $1 million more. So we'd rather budget a little low, right? So that we come in through and we get into this year, we see that we've got some revenue dollars, and we've had some projects that we couldn't do. At least we've got some money there that we know is going to be coming in that can help us. And we always have some unexpected things, like we had what happened at Gaddy's, right, Arthur? How much money was involved in that?
Total Gaddy's repair?
About 600? Yeah, 600,000. Again, those are things that we're not anticipating, but we're actually going to do that, all right? So we want to make sure. If you look down further, if you go down where it says restricted revenue, that money is actually there. It's actually in the fire department as well. That's the revenue dollars. I mean, the grant money for the fire department to hire the 12. So I wanted you to see that. When it says restricted revenue, you may not know what that is, but that is that money. That's the grant money, right, on the front page, okay? And then one I always like to highlight a little bit, and I think we've mentioned it a couple times, still looking at the estimated revenues, is the miscellaneous revenue. We've moved things around with our accounts, that we've gotten some really pretty good deals. Tanya and I work with the banks. That $505,000 is interest that we did not have, that we're going to have next year, okay, as part of our revenue. So it's nice to see us that we're able to try to do some things. So I wanted to give you that revenue piece. I know we've gone over it again, but I just want to make sure as you look at that, because I think that's the most important number, because you can't spend anything until you figure out what you got, right? So I thank Tanya for all her help on that. I want to leave it open for you. I do have a couple of other comments in each of these different departments, but I wanted to hear from you guys. You guys want to have the meeting? Let's figure out what items you want to talk about, what questions you have, and kind of get this thing rolling here. So the floor is open for anybody. I'm sorry?
Can I start with one thing?
Absolutely.
So from our last meeting, there were a few things changed in the copies that you have, and I mentioned it before the meeting started, but it is on the sewer budget, the property acquisition, $225,000 was removed. And then we had found in one of the utility lines under Parks and Rec, it had $100,000 on it, and prior year was $10,000. I reviewed it, changed the $100,000 to $12,000. So those are the only two changes from this set, the set you have from the set we had on Thursday.
Okay. Thank you, Tanya. Yeah, and I know there were some concerns, and we talked about that as far as that property. And I know I've heard from Bonnie, and I've heard a couple other concerns. You know, obviously it's a strange situation that we've got a house for a substation is, but as I've heard from you guys, you know, we're not going to do anything about that. All right, we're going to leave it as it is right now, and like I said, and we went ahead and removed it. I don't know how many opportunities that's ever gonna happen again in the sewer department, that we would have to do a property acquisition there. But keep it in mind, there's a lot of moving pieces. We're doing most of our big projects, the park, the streetscape and stuff. So we just took it off there, so.
Hey, Tanya, so the 225 is in property acquisition?
Yes, it was.
Where did we move that?
We just took it out, so then you have a more carryover at the bottom.
Oh, okay,
Your expenses just reduced by that amount.
okay,
Yeah, we took it all the way out.
okay.
You know, it's not much of a chance we'd have to do something like that again, so we just took it out. If we had to come to you guys and go, hey, we did have something come up, we'd approach you with it and let you get the
I
emails.
just want to clarify, so those funds are unencumbered at this?
Yeah, we took them out.
Okay.
We took them out of our expenses.
All right.
Okay. All right. With that said, I mean, obviously, the floor is open, if, you know, for questions you might have. I mean, things that we did have, different sessions with the department heads, but, you know, the floor is open for you guys. Anything you want to bring up and things we've talked about already.
If you don't mind, I would, either way, suggest, I know Faith said she might have to leave early. Or,
7:30, yeah.
she has to be somewhere 7:30, so.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we
But if
had
she
3
wants-
sessions.
If she wants to go ahead and address her issues first,
okay.
she's free to go.
I've asked
I'm-
mine.
I'm
I
free
got
to
a
that.
couple, but
No, I appreciate that, Mike. No worries.
I want to hear everybody else's concerns.
Oh, are you,
Oh, he's gonna.
oh, he's going, okay.
Speak.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Of course, now, we haven't gotten the, through, April financials for the city,
Yeah.
so. There was a lot there, I mean, that went back to February, so some of the numbers weren't gonna be close, so I just, didn't get to do a lot with that, in general, but, but I looked at the same thing with the sewer, and some of this, I guess, is just how, in my mind, how, numbers how they come about. Give me a minute to lay this out. So we had their financials through April. And I just wondered, I had a question, in the revenue side, in the 4,000s with the, Louisville Water billing. And I know you're probably the only department that considers what they don't send us as just a credit to revenue versus an expense. Right? I mean, they take out their fee ahead of time, but you record that as negative revenue. Right?
Well, sort of, yeah.
Okay. But in the,
The fee went up.
yeah. So we had, but for this current year, we had budgeted amounts, minus, okay? But there was never anything recorded as actual.
Correct.
And then that went from, well, some of it was like there's, almost a couple $100,000 in there. But it doesn't show how much of that actually happened.
And you're correct on that. And the reason is that we have not in the past recorded the numbers correctly, in my opinion. So we don't record the billed revenue, and we need to change that. We bill the cash received is what we post.
Right.
So our accounting needs to change. So recording those numbers is just, moving stuff around.
Okay.
You're not really doing anything with those negative numbers. Louisville Water does keep the sales tax that is billed on the accounts, and they do keep their fee. And their fee will be going up during this budget. We don't know how much yet. We've talked to them a little, but they're gonna
Okay.
come out and talk to us. And we will change, after this audit, after the 22 audit, we will change how we do those journal entries.
Okay.
Because I do think it's important that we post the billed revenue and then take the cash off of it so we can keep track of what's really owed to the sewer department. When we did the 21 audit, there was over $600,000 sitting in accounts receivable, which was truly not accounts receivable. So
Right.
we did a clean that up, and I think it's like 200 and something now.
Okay.
Because when I worked with Louisville Water and got the actual delinquencies, we did the bills that are over 120 days old and the ones that had been written off, which Louisville Water never really writes the debt off. It is written off on the account, but if that customer ever comes back to get water again, they will collect that money.
Okay.
So that's the reason you don't see an interest there.
Well, and I noticed in the projected, for this year's budget, it was like their billing charges was 55,000 estimate, and that went to 100,000.
Correct. So
For the
we've been
proposed.
paying the same billing charge to Louisville Water since 2002.
Yeah, is that 78 cents? Or just-
Yeah.
I think it's 78
Yeah,
cents a bill.
yeah, and that's gonna go up. So without having a real number, we basically double that number because we're still waiting for them, but we know it's going up. That's a very inexpensive way. We've been really getting away with that one, and they've
So that-
seen it.
That is a per bill charge.
It is a per bill.
Yeah.
Is it, have you had any predictability about what it might go to?
I would, just from working there in the past, I would say that MSD is paying $2.79 a bill. I don't think, it will go up that high because I have a little goodwill with the person who's coming to negotiate. So, so I will, he asked me a question the last time I talked to him on the phone, and I told him, no, you save that goodwill until we negotiate the building charge.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't expect it to go up that high, because MSD has some special things.
Yeah.
They have access to the system, there's some other things that they can do that Shepherdsville cannot do, so.
And it's been a great program for us, for them to take care of it. It's
Yeah.
really not something we want to be involving in.
When they do that per bill, I imagine that would be somewhat per residence.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have more than the number of residents that you have, because you have the people who move in and out. So you'll have a final bill or a beginning
Yeah.
bill that won't be for a full month.
No, I was talking about the physical residence, the
Yes,
home.
yes.
So,
Yes.
do you have any idea how many homes they bill in Shepherdsville?
About 5,200.
I was gonna say,
5,200.
5,500 was gonna,
I think we have about 5,200 on record, but I'm thinking it's ranges between 5,600 bills and 6,000 bills every bill.
That includes that business and
That's the
everything,
moving in,
total,
outs and-
okay. As far as sewer going on down there, then, and there again, I'm just looking at a comparison of what was budgeted, what was projected or spent. When you come down to 5010, the salary and wages regular time, you had 927,000 budgeted for this year through the end of April, 560, about close to 565,000. And if you extrapolate that out from the 10 to the 12 months, I just went on average, okay? That comes to 677.5, and we've got $250,000 more for this coming year.
We're
Yeah.
currently trying to hire 3 full-time employees.
Right, now, is that your full year costs on the additional? Cause there's a couple of engineers or 3 engineers and,
There won't be a couple more engineers added, but there will be 3 maintenance workers added and a clerk this year.
okay, cause I mean, we approved the positions and the salaries, so I just wondered if, there was plans to go ahead and hire them this year, or as happens a lot of times, halfway through the year, January.
Takes a lot to hire people, right?
Yeah. And I guess, the same thing, 5075, with what we spent in the 10 months, extrapolated out, would come to 180,000. And there was 256, almost 257,000 budgeted this year, and it went up just slightly, or actually went down
Down.
just a bit,
So that-
255,000.
And the retirement rate did go down.
And the rate went down. But what I'm saying is, according to this, if it goes out on the same rough average per month, breaking it down, you're gonna come in at less than 200,000, 81,000. Okay, that's what I'm figuring, if he,
Yeah, we got,
and we didn't know how many,
Right.
okay. What, 5120 said, was it a premium on insurance for Cobra? There was nothing spent this year, and I didn't see where,
Last year?
no, this was for July 22 to April of 23. It don't show anything actually being spent through that 10 months, and I don't see anything in here where it was ever budgeted. Did that line go away?
Was it a blank line? Because we don't normally
yeah.
budget for Cobra, because the employee normally pays that.
Okay. Well, all I was saying was, in the P and L comparison, there's a line there for it.
And because last year we did have some expenses, I believe, in there that,
Okay.
from the COVID Act, it came back, employees were on Cobra, and if they left non-voluntary, then, the business had to pay the coach.
So with the insurances going up, the, line 5110, the, just health insurance, shows health insurance. This year that we're in was 198, they have the same amount budgeted. But there again, it didn't show, near as I can figure, unless the lines are off, didn't show anything spent. Unless it's the, could be the 98,000.
It probably was. Because there was money spent on sewer side for health insurance.
I was gonna say, 'cause, so that would come out to roughly 19,000
And of course,
extrapolated
the
out.
higher the number of people that
Same
budgeted,
thing.
the
So
more
all
they
these, all these that are all way off like that are including your, what'd you say, 2 new maintenance and a three?
Three.
3 maintenance and a
Clerk.
clerk. Okay. The, 5235, the computer connection, internet. Budgeted 10 this year, budgeted 10 for next year, but it only shows less than $200 actually spent this year.
I would say that's probably not correct.
yeah, that entry, that's a date
I would
entry.
hope.
I mean, it wasn't, I mean, you could've called me, we could've checked.
Well, it was late today. It was late today when I finally got this done, so. But there again, those are just the things. I'm sure sometimes there's an explanation. But that would be a big jump. I'll skip that one. Now, are these things we have to do a amendment to the budget on? This one particular line, 5420, maintenance and repair to the sewer plant. I know there's a lot that goes into that category, but there was 200,000 budgeted this year and for next year. But through April, it shows already 225,000.
So we will be looking at, amending the budget for last year, probably in June, end of June. Because we know that we're gonna have to amend the budget, but I really haven't looked at that at this point.
Okay.
Been working on getting the current year, the, future year budget done. We will have to amend the budget because of this, probably $685,000 that we've spent
Yeah, and Tony, I want to add to that. What we decided we were going to do is, once we got got all our bills in, me and you were going to say, we talked about that last couple of days. We'll sit down, and what we'll do, we're going to amend this budget that we're in, because we have taken funds, you've seen the accounts, we've moved things in. We're going to clean that up. Because again, there was money in these accounts that we had $40,000 in an admin account that we had an opportunity to use somewhere else. We did some of that. We emailed you all that. We'll clean it all up at one time instead of trying doing a piecemeal. So you'll have, when we're completely done with the budget that we're in right now, Mike, we'll get it all cleaned up, we'll see it. It'll still come out the same numbers at the bottom, you'll just see different categories with some changes.
I know that, Arthur, I asked Arthur about this the other day, and when we were there, and I don't know, I just can't remember exactly what the answer was, but the utilities there at Old Ford, big increase. And
That's gonna be related to
Yeah.
UV disinfection.
okay,
Part of that expansion there, the plan is to replace that with the newer technology that's gonna be more energy efficient. Right now, we've got a UV system that during the night hours, whenever the flow is very low, it'll go into an emergency mode, which means all lights on all the time. And so that's very energy, rich. It's gonna consume more than it should in the middle of the night. And so that's one of the things we're trying to fix right now.
you see, that's that UV,
The UV disinfection.
okay,
I'm assuming it's an electrical power issue, so that's gonna be where that biggest problem is coming from.
Yeah.
Is UV and blowers. Those are
Because-
big consumers when it comes to energy.
because that's another one there that was, 200,000 both years, this year and next year, and already at 330.
Yeah.
So, you trying to compete with Lane on that unscheduled overtime, or?
Don't want to.
Is any of the, maintenance, yeah, maintenance and repair of the sewer lines? We're at, a little over, about 11 this year so far, 11,000. And had 75,000 budgeted this year, and again for next year. Is some of that going to be taken care of with, grant money or ARPA money or something like that?
In
Because
the sewer?
yeah,
Well, there's no ARPA money in the sewer.
it,
There's no money there at all.
okay,
It's in Public Works and it's in the
all the ARPA's in Public Works, okay.
Public Works, yeah. I mean, they got transportation money that they got still, and then we've got
Yeah.
the money we've got for,
Well, there again, I was just wondering if that, which is more of a need. I mean, there's 75 budgeted, but only like 11 spent so far, a couple more months to go.
I just sent in a PO about 35 minutes ago for $20,000
Yeah.
out of that line item.
That's why it's not updated here, isn't it?
So Mike, to kind of add one of your questions, one of the things in the budget process that you went through when you were with them in the 3 different sessions, the idea was is to let you know that a lot of times you're putting money in there for more emergencies and you don't know for sure. There may be, depending on the age of some of the lines we've talked about, what happened at the Colonial House.
Yeah.
Things like that happen. You have to budget it. You just do not want, if you don't
Yeah.
have to spend it, you're asking these questions about some of these numbers. You budget it. That's not really, as the old term is called fluff. There is always a padding and to make sure that you have enough money to handle things. The nice thing is, if you project that money for these repairs, whether it's something in the fire department or something in the sewer department, the whole idea behind it is you budget the money. And then hopefully you don't have to use it and you can use it for a rollover. Lord knows, when we talk about Public Works, we'd love to have money roll over because there's always projects on roads and
Sure.
and potholes. And so just keeping that in mind, you're going through the lines here, I think it's really just important. If you see something that stands out, but do know some of this is just projected numbers. We're hoping not to spend it. But again, we've seen what happens, like I said, with the Gaddy situation. That was pretty expensive.
Of course, and I don't mind telling you, I'm of a mindset, I know we have emergencies. And if you have funds, once you allocate them, they're in somewhere. But once it's sitting more or less in the general fund, not appropriated, not allocated, it's there to be used. Emergency order or whatever, boom, But until then, that's money that's not tied up someplace else. And that's one of my concerns. I don't mind telling anybody, that's my concern, as long as you take what funds you have and you tie it all up in different places, then you don't know what's there necessarily.
Yeah, but I'll give you an example, like things that you had allocated money in this last budget. You know, when we looked at that and we saw that we needed to clean up some of the areas through in the city.
Right.
We took money out of one general account and put it into another general account, right? And that's what this is about. So I think that the biggest thing for everybody up here is, I could definitely say this ahead of time, is we reduced our budget. You know, if you take the police and the fire, both of them are less than they were, than the budget we're in. So when you look at a lot of this, we tried to do some things because we looked at our investment in the city, right? We talked about the 30 million. So that's a critical part of this. We asked everybody to look at that. We did raise public works. We need more people out there getting things done. I mean, we're still not where we need to be. I think you got 2 hired.
Hopefully.
Yep, so we're kind of working through that process. So a lot of this is speculation. I mean, it's pretty good. If you look at it from year to year, it's not that much different. You can look at one set of numbers versus last numbers, and you can look at the numbers we're gonna do next year. There's not gonna be a tremendous amount different, unless we know we have certain projects that we are working on. We do know that Arthur and them are actually gonna expand the water treatment plant. We know that, that's coming. But we don't know some other things that are gonna happen. We know that a lot of money is gonna be allocated for obviously the park plans and all that. But please keep in mind when you're looking at this, these are projected numbers based on our history and making sure the questions you have just tied into that, because again, yes, I wish we had a crystal ball. We don't.
Okay, can I expand on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I had a question when we had our meetings about, and I talked to Tom about it at the meeting. So if stuff comes up, we can, say like projects. So projects has $100,000 in it, but we get a project that needs more, so we can take funding from somewhere and put. We took the 245 out of the budget. Could we have not,
It was 225.
okay, 225. We took that out. Could we have not kept that in there for a buffer?
Well, we could
And
have.
move that, if they needed that, then it's there and we could vote to move it to a project? I mean, I didn't know.
It's still
Yeah.
there, it's gonna be in their carryover.
Yeah.
The money's still there,
Right.
it's just not allotted for anything.
It's not allotted
right
for
now.
property acquisition. And
Right.
again, in either case, just so you all know that, in either case, we still would have had to get your approval. So it wasn't gonna.
Right.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
that's what I'm saying.
But
I
yeah, that
mean,
money,
either
if
way,
it
would-
popped up that you guys decided you wanted to do it,
Right,
we
either
just
way,
allocate
it would
that
have
money
just
to
been
it.
there and we would have said, hey, let's vote to move it to this project since we're not gonna acquire the property. I
So
didn't-
when, on the last package that you received, there was a question about, we were negative on the estimated funds balance to carry over,
Yeah.
carry forward at the bottom of the
Right.
summary. For sewers, we were like at $91,000.
Yeah.
So we took that $225,000 out.
And made it a
And then you have
positive.
a positive number. down there.
Yes.
So you know, even when the budget is adopted, you'll have that positive number down there of
To-
funds
to
we
build
did not
on.
allocate. So
Okay,
if there was an emergency, you could move that. if you needed
yes,
to.
okay.
We'd do it and then.
I didn't know if sewer, mainly what I'm asking is, I didn't know if your all's budget, like, I know their budget is separate from ours, and I didn't know if the money was, this is what it's allocated for, like, they don't have much movement like you do. We say like public
They
works.
do, they have the same thing. If they were to have,
Okay.
yeah, because if he-
Okay,
yeah, they usually
I
do.
mean, things really get hairy.
yes,
You guys are
Right.
gonna get a phone call.
Okay.
We'll fix it.
okay.
It'll be okay.
That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you, Ms. Alves.
I have a question for Sarah.
You and I talked about the other day about your offices that you were supposed to, okay?
There, had a guy there today measuring and making sure that the metal, building that's on order is gonna be correctly sized and whatnot for that extension.
Okay, so we're almost into the new year. I don't think you budgeted anything in this budget, did you, for it? Right? And you're not gonna have it done before July 1.
I'm realizing that now.
Did you,
So-
have you got a PO, signed a contract, ordered the,
Yes.
Yeah, but
So
you-
does that mean it's in this budget?
so then we can make the accounting work if you've done those things. Because
Okay.
you've spent the money, you've committed to that money.
Right.
until it's actually processed, it rolls over. Okay, that money is still allocated where it is. To answer your question,
Okay, I just wanna make sure that we don't get into the new one and we still can't build it and then we're gonna be out
You're right.
further.
No, it's rollover, it's allocated,
Okay.
so if it's not spent yet, a check hasn't been called for, it rolls over, it's gonna be the money allocated for that. And we'll make sure,
We'll make sure.
you always have a rollover on some of your, I know that, I've seen that in your numbers. Thank you, Ms. Bonnie. All right,
I think that's all I had on that, because I didn't, like I said, I
Yeah, no
didn't
worries.
have the financials for the city yet to do these comparisons. And,
well, one of the things, to add to Mike, we were just talking about, is if you just take your look at your projected numbers that you've had and you've done your meetings with, you can see, if you take, I'm not sure what sheet you guys look at, I wanted to show you a couple of notes here. All right, yeah, if you take the second sheet on this, the second sheet of this, of your general fund, you guys will just turn it over to the second page. I know I went over the revenue part on the front end. I wanted to show you, I made some notes here just to help you guys. So if you look at, and you guys can come back to each of these categories, I just wanted to say these things to you. So the admin, looks like the admin's on the bottom. Yeah, admin's still on the first sheet. I'm sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so on the admin, if you look at, you see the 4 million that's in there, right? You got a total of almost $6 million. You go, oh my gosh, what is that? Well, the two things are in there, yes, you got the $2 million bond payment for the year. So if you look on the front page here, the first category, appropriations, the administration, you got that 4 million. I want to make sure you knew what that was.
Yeah.
You have to allocate it into revenue, all right, which we did. So if you take that 4 million there, you've got 2 million is the ARPA money. It has to be moved over, and it has to show it as a revenue first, and then there's where you show it as an expense. Everybody get that? All right, so the other 2 million that's in there is the expense of the loan. So that's why that account looks good. But if you look at theirs, and I know you guys went through that, we took an overhead account that we're gonna go back over, but you'll see that if you look at the numbers, between what the admin, the fire and the police have all been reduced from their budget numbers from last year. Okay, just a little bit, but we're talking $300,000-$400,000, and that's quite a bit when you're talking about what we're asking to do. So I think it's important to point these things out. Public Works, Tom, we're working on things, we got a list, and we're getting things done now, it's our season, but I wanted you all to see that, because when you see some of these numbers, we have to show everything, just like we had to show the 30 million, right? On the front page of the revenue, you see that. But I wanted to also make sure on the fire department, that, like I said, it was reduced, but what's in there is in their total payroll, is you'll see there's a 1.1, it's actually on your restricted revenue, on the front page of revenue. If you go to fire, that's where that $1 million is being put. So no, we're not spending $8 million in the fire department, okay? We're spending what we normally spend, a little bit less, but there's that money in there, that grant money that we get each year for the first 3 years. We get 3 years of the fire, right? So I want you to, making sure you're looking at expenses, you're looking at everything that is included. We started out with just what each department, what we wanted, right? I set numbers out for everybody, each department had something to work from, and that's what I wanted you guys to see, just to see a couple things like that. And then I made the comment about them being reduced. So I want to make sure you guys keep up with any questions you got, but I wanted to at least show you that there was some serious effort made on the department heads to try to do a much better job on reducing a little bit. Again, it's always going to be a challenge when you think about our costs and you think about what we do with the 65 interchange. It's not just a 14.4 population here. It's a 500,000 cars that we always have to respond to. All right.
And did we take into account on like the fire and the police, because I know we're gonna have
No issue.
increase of gas prices. Gas prices are gonna go, everything's going up. So did we take that into account?
So last year, we budgeted high because at the time we were budgeting last year for gas, it was higher than it is now.
It was, yeah, I
So we
remember.
were expecting it to go even higher last year. And I believe we're under budget on both, in all areas on
Okay.
fuel.
Okay,
So-
good, good. Yeah, I didn't think about the other departments, but I know they, you know, they're cruising around a lot, so, all right, thank you.
And I don't know, I haven't heard from you all about the overhead. We talked about why we did that, because all the utilities were being split up in 5 different departments. We decided just to make a different category where we put all there, it wasn't part of, and everybody had to reduce their budget that amount. They didn't just get to go with the same budget, you could see that, because it's about $1 million in overhead budget, which I thought was a great idea. That was Darren and Miss Tanya. You know, you guys brought that up. I thought it was a good idea, it just saves a lot of splitting it up and trying to get everybody to pay a piece of the pie.
And Tanya did, she did explain that in the last 2
Okay,
budget meetings.
okay. See, Miss Tanya, you're telling them stuff.
I try to tell them everything.
Well, listen, you know, like I said, we tried some things a little different, obviously, to give you guys the scope of things, because there's a scope that you have. You really aren't a line by line. you're here for the departments, you look at the summaries, you look at what's being actually allocated, because you don't know a lot of the day-to-day stuff that they go through. So you're looking at some of these numbers, and some of the comparisons Mike's made, I think that's where it needs to be. If you're gonna start monitoring your monthly, Mike, what he's doing there, when he gets the monthly, that's the ones that they wanna watch. Because if they have allocated $100,000, and we're 2 months into the year, and you got 80, that ought to be a real good question for me and the chief financial officer, right? So those are the things that we want you to do, is be able to target, and maybe the payment comes out early, right? Maybe it's 100,000, but a big chunk of that comes out early in the fiscal year. It's a good question to ask. It's like if we're over that. Now, when we see situations like that, we're gonna come to you and go, hey, yeah, we spent 80,000 of 100, we didn't know this was gonna happen. We need you guys to see that we're gonna take money out of this account. No, the whole idea, when we move money, your job is, if I take 50,000 and I need it for something over here, you're gonna watch this account. You're not gonna let me spend that 50,000. That's what you wanna do. That's the oversight that you have on your budgets when you make these kind of concessions that we've made. When we took money out of the admin for that 40,000, that money was never gonna be spent there again. We took that money out to take care of some of the projects that we needed in the city. We saw some things that need to be done. And that's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen, we get into this year, we're gonna see, oh, can we get this done? Some of these emergencies, whatever happens, we had to fix Blue Lake with that sidewalk. The first week of January. Remember you called me, Faith?
Yes.
And I mean, it was, the thing was just laying there. That rail was just laying on the ground, and it was all cracked. They put the 2 big beams so you could walk across there.
The beams, I think, were they the handrails or something?
I don't know what they were. No, it's just
Beams
big, like,
this wide for people to walk across the creek.
and that was
Where the
$25,000.
concrete came in.
Yeah, and that was $25 we didn't expect, okay, but we had to do it. So we got with Arthur and all them and said, hey, we got, and then we started looking at some of the accounts. Those stuff's gonna happen, and we have more water problems than we know to do with. So it's gonna be a lot of times, and if we do see that we've projected one thing out for everybody here, and we see that it's more important to fix another drainage issue somewhere, or whether it's a road to be fixed, we're gonna go do that. I know that we've got plenty of opportunities with that. There's been some things neglected over the years, but we can't get it all done in 1 year. So I hope that the public is patient with us as we keep looking at it, because Tom and I keep that list going. We take 2 off, put 2 more at the bottom. It just keeps going.
Yep.
Yep, that's about how it is. I gave you a couple more today.
Me too.
Yeah, he said you did. So again, I always want to emphasize that, because again, your role as council is to really understand a framework of this. The day-to-day stuff and the money they need in each of these departments, I don't know what they need. We're not, but they're the operators. That's why we want them to develop that budget and then give it to you to make comparisons of what they've been budgeting over the last few years and be able to answer that. That's what the whole thing we did these workshops was, to give you a chance to ask some of these questions. That's the key to this. And so when you get into this part of the budget right here, this is fine. I think it's to finish those last questions, because we really want to be able to get it done on time, which has been a lacking thing for the last couple of years. We want to make sure that May 22nd is Monday, that we can start with that one. It still gives you 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually. You're going to have 3 weeks, because June 12th is not the next meeting. So you have 3 weeks to still ask questions and see stuff. But we want to get that ball rolling, so we're getting this thing done on time, because it's going to be important. There's a lot of big things in this budget. We talk about all things that we're committed to as far as the big projects. So, but I appreciate the questions. I mean, anything else out there? I mean,
Well, I want to say I appreciate Tanya, because I called her yesterday. I kept her forever. I had a ton of questions, you know, and I want to thank her for that, because she broke them down for me instead of, you know what I'm
you're
saying?
not going to tell me that Tanya's nice, are you?
Well, she was to me yesterday,
Okay.
so what can I say?
Tanya, I know I'll have to hear it for a few days, but it's okay. I'll listen.
No, she has done really good, and I don't know
I'll
what
listen.
you all think, but she has done really good explaining things in the last 2 budget meetings.
All right,
And
well,
I have called her twice.
He just picks on
I
I do.
know,
I do.
and I have called her twice, and she answers everything. I called Tom, he's answered, I called Scott, he's answered, so I wanna thank you all for doing, I called Lane too, by the way. I don't have your number, so.
Oh, I'll give you.
Can't call you.
I'll give you his number.
He won't give it to me, he's afraid of me.
I'll give you.
Your number's just wrong.
I know, right? But thank you all for being so cooperative and answering all my questions.
Appreciate that. Appreciate
Mayor,
that.
you mentioned drainage.
Yep.
Tuesday morning, 9 a.m., we have our phone call with the Mississippi River Valley Authority.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
we'll be discussing potential drainage solutions on Tuesday.
Yeah, we're really excited. There's some big projects that we're getting up on the line to get stuff done. Blue Lake is definitely the one that I'm really excited about. We've moved up that, we were low on the totem pole, we've moved up, and we've done some things. So some of the things that we've done, and I'm telling you, you know, people say, well, you know, we cleaned up the Wendy's area, You know, that's a state right away. We called them and we said, we're gonna do it, because they don't come out but once every 4 years. I mean, there were trees 6 inches in diameter. So some of these things that we're doing,
That wasn't good.
uh-oh.
They're like, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's add that to the budget. Let's add that to the budget. But I think it's, those kind of things are relationships. And so again, we're spending money that we consider a good investment for the city, because that became a good thing for the city, you know? So we're always looking at, and I want to make sure you all know that. And I know that you spent some time with all the department heads, but I want you to know that we're really trying to make sure that everything we do is for the benefit of Shepherdsville. You know, and again, there's always gonna be a question about maybe something out there, you know, please, even after we pass this, any questions you have, I know we're gonna get back on track. We had QuickBooks problems last month, but we're gonna get you your numbers, next week, as we're trying to finish up this and get all this ready for Monday. But do know that, I mean, any question, you know, we always wanna make sure we're answering your questions on anything we're doing. We always try to keep you up with it. I try to email you everything I can ahead of time. If it's gonna be money, especially, I wanna make sure you guys know it, because I gotta get your approval for that. Yeah.
I did forget to ask, Tanya, did you all finalize how much the health insurance is going up? Is it still 9.9%?
It's still 9.9%.
Okay.
We don't have final numbers on it yet.
Okay.
We're still waiting.
Okay.
They're in
All
the
right.
process, though.
Yeah, I know that you all have something going on next week with it, so you'll
And
update us?
They did call me, somebody from KLC called me last week and gave me the high-level number of what property liability would be and,
Yeah, I didn't think that properly.
one other one, but it was a very high-level number.
Okay.
And I need more detail than that to
Right.
put it in there. There is within the budget, and I told y'all this last week when we met, is that, we increased the health insurance by 9.9%, and the other insurance, I increased it by 10%, because after talking to them, those were their projections.
Okay.
But that is, subject to change with them, depending on, you know, she told me on the phone last week that one may come in lower than that.
Okay.
So,
All right. Will you keep us updated?
I would,
Thank you.
All right,
That's all I have.
okay.
Is that done, Mr. Sewer? Are we done with sewer?
Yeah, we're done with sewer. Yeah.
Oh, now, are we on admin? I get lost in so many conversations.
No, I get it. No, I just wanna make sure.
It's so long, I forget where I'm at.
That's right. Go ahead and get started. Go, what you got?
Okay, admin.
Yep,
Bonnie.
53
Bonnie.
Oh, sorry.
5321, city beautification, there's no money in it.
there was 20,000.
I think there is.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, there's non-restricted.
Yeah, it's just not on that top line, Bonnie.
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, but did we not have like $80,000 in there at one time? How much? 50,000?
Not last year.
Okay, but it was before that, but I know we had quite a bit in it.
well, one of the things,
Restricted? Or the,
No, it wasn't restricted.
well,
well, part of the things with the beautification is in that 30 million. Okay, so you've got the street lights, you know, the trees, the benches are gonna be in that. They donated, you know, $10,000 worth of flower pots. Those are, you know, those real nice ones that we have out there now. We're just putting them out there. We'll be bringing them back through the construction. But the idea, we have that. So and then the beautification group itself is actually raising money to help with the awnings and those type of things. So there's money actually, and we've got to tie this up with the ARPA money and Arthur and them, because we're getting together with QK4. A lot of the beautification, especially that area, is going to be tied in with the money, ARPA money and the 30 million. Now, for other areas of the city, there's been some fundraising. They're gonna be raising some money. I think the key for us is that, I don't know that number's gonna have to be big, because there's other funds that are actually allocated for most of the things we're gonna do, especially downtown. Downtown, that money's there.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was included in that 30 million. All right. Anything else on admin? And if it's anybody's fault, it's Brenda's fault,
Yes.
if it's an admin. You know, we're fully staffed. Let's just let's stay on the positive side of things. We're fully staffed in City Hall for the first time in a long time, right?
Yeah.
First time ever.
First time ever. So we got eight folks working there, working together. Tanya, you got two superstars. I think the two ladies doing well up front. You know, and I can't even talk highly enough about Amber. Great call there.
Yep.
She's doing a
Oh,
great
she
job.
does.
So, and we've got some really good people doing good stuff, and I think that's really part of being staffed. I know that the sewer department, we just talked about them, trying to get staffed, the fire department. They always budget for what they need, but they've fallen short. They had four, got two, I think they're gonna be two short from their payroll numbers this year. You know, it's just, is that about right? Yeah. I got him back there, I thought I'd ask him a question. Yeah, I think you're still a couple short of, just without this whole 12.
We just
Yeah.
had a new one hired May 2nd.
Yeah, so it fluctuates
But-
back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was just somebody left some, you know.
That, Mike, that goes back to a lot of your payroll questions on each of the departments. They're budgeting for what they need to have. Doesn't mean we're gonna get it, Tom. Obviously, you know, you could really use four. Easy start.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all gonna change. So next budget, I don't wanna get too far ahead if we even finish this one yet. But we're gonna have to budget for that Parks and Rec, and we're gonna have to, because there are gonna have to be people monitoring that. And the police department, we've talked a lot that they have to monitor that park in the downtown area. We're putting a lot of money in these areas and around the aquatic center. We're gonna have to have that kind of staff, so we are going to have to continue to do it, but we're gonna also see our revenue dollars go up too.
We're not gonna get a Parks and Rec director this year?
It's gonna be January. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, in January, I'm gonna get it. Because what we need to do is, there's nothing gonna happen, Bonnie, on the real construction is gonna be in the spring, so we're gonna get them ahead of time. We've got some little things we're doing. We've started a pickleball league that's gonna be here. It's actually gonna move into the aquatic center. But yes, we're starting to pick up on the sports part of it. I mean, we've got obviously the T-ball, baseball, and softball back here. We're just about that close from getting a Parks Rec. And I'm actually interviewing a couple people, but I don't really think we're gonna put anybody in place until that.
Are we gonna advertise that
Absolutely.
position?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, I'm just talking to people that do that. I'm not talking about anybody that's
Because I
hired.
know someone who's interested and they know everything you need to
Oh, I
know.
think I know who it is.
Yeah, you probably do.
I do.
Because
Okay,
he knows how to bring money in.
okay. I know him well. I know him well from my traveling days, yeah. So, but that's what we need to do. So there's our cost, and then, you know, we've talked a lot about this. The city's big enough, it should have an HR. We've talked a lot about that. We're working on that right now. So, you know, there's money to be spent, but we gotta spend it the right way. So this is the first budget we've all done together, you know, and I think what we're trying to do is just get a budget that we feel comfortable with. You know, the unexpected is the unexpected. But, you know, we got a lot of good things happening too. A lot of construction's gonna be happening in the next 6 to 9 months. So, and I know Public Works is gonna feel the brunt of that. You guys are gonna, so we're gonna keep, I say it smiling. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's just in our day-to-day operation, but when we start really putting all this together here, the next couple of years, we're really gonna have to put some, it's an investment we gotta take care of. It's a lot of money, I think people would understand that, so. I think the biggest part about all this budget process is for everybody to really understand, once you get it approved, it's really what you monitor. You know, it's really because again, it's gonna be posted, we're gonna, on our new website, we're gonna have all the information for people to get, any of you can just click it on and go see it. And so we're really trying to be sure that people get to at least, if you want to, most people don't wanna do that, they got their own bills to worry about. But in this case, for us, I think the idea is that we wanna make sure that people wanna do that and see it, and then they can call and ask questions, come into the office, I don't care. And if they have concerns or they have things they wanna work on. I mean, everybody's always calling me, hey, I got this, we need to get this. I get those phone calls every day. But I think we're in a pretty good position, and I hope that, you know, I hope the benefit that we've done the budgets like we did this year was an opportunity for you guys to get a framework and then really to do some line by lines. You know, Bonnie, I'm not picking on you, you've been around town, it's Faith and Mike, you three have been around this a lot. You can kind of look at some of these numbers and see what you're used to, right? You can see certain numbers that you see in different categories. But that's what we want some of the new folks, because you're not gonna know from one year to the next of what you see. But I think working together, you guys keep talking to each other and helping each other look at that, because we want you to keep an eye on that. And we are, and just for everybody out here in the public, we are gonna keep, for the council, it's a line by line. We've designated Holly, line by line, every dollar that $30 million is spent is gonna be there. So all this council will always get that. You'll get once a month, you'll get an update of everything that we've spent out of the 30 million all the time. So you know what we're doing here.
And Tom, I like some of the stuff you put in your budget, because I know you need a lot of this stuff. I mean, working with you real close, I know that a lot of you need, and if you need any help researching or trying to find some, if you need help, I'll look it up on the computer for you, okay?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I know you need it. I mean, I
Well,
know
we've
you
got a
do.
lot of projects that we've
Yeah.
started or coming up.
Right.
And not only do we not have manpower, but we simply don't have the equipment for it.
Yeah, like we talked
Right.
about.
I know,
We talked
I
about
know.
outside.
Absolutely.
So one of the things too, just for everybody out there, we're trying to find creative ways that when we do projects, and there's a fine line between the sewer and the public works, but if one has the equipment, you know, we're not buying two sets of equipment, and if we're doing the same work, there's gonna be some cross in projects when we talk about the park and we talk about the sewer. I mean, the water running all the way to the Salt River. We're gonna get all that work done before we really start digging up a lot of the park. We wanna get that part done. That's gonna be from that Blue Lick area. We're gonna run a line from the Blue Lick area through 44 to the river. That's part of that whole Kipta and Blue Lick. So we wanna get that line in place so we're not digging up the park 2 years down the road or a year down the road. So whatever we have projects that they can work together on, and maybe use same equipment, we wanna try to do that. That saves the taxpayers money. And we wanna try to do that anytime we can, so. Yeah, I know there's always a fine line, what we do in the sewer, what we do in public works, but we do try to keep those lines straight. Arthur, everything okay?
We're okay, we're flowing again.
All right, that's what I want. I knew you ran out. I just wanna make sure I got to hear that. All right.
And, I have one more question, and this is for all the departments. Have we figured out a percentage of raises yet, or are we gonna wait and discuss that on Monday?
So Lane and I have discussed a 3% for the fire department.
Okay,
It is not built into these numbers yet.
okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna add to that too, because.
I talked to Lane too.
No problem.
I've texted with Lane today, and he told me about the 3%. But that brings them up sort of like with 5% for the rest of the departments. But he says he still has 8 to 10 people that will be getting less than the 5%. So are we going to adjust those people also?
I asked him about that, if he felt okay with, adjusting some more, and he didn't give me the impression that he felt comfortable with that.
Well, he was telling me something about it, and he could explain it more on Monday, the reason why, and I can't remember.
That's his, chart, his,
Base scale.
base
Right,
scale.
right, yeah.
And for everybody out here, if you've ever seen the police or fire, the way they do their payroll, it's very
Yeah.
interesting. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's very challenging, and again, it's very difficult to understand. I do think one of the keys in that is when we looked at all this as far as the increases, we did want to try to do some things for all departments, you know, but again, a lot of what the fire department was done last year, and calculating, and I was very involved in that, as far as, we had to go through a whole bunch of stuff with the retirement, and I don't want to get into the weeds, but we saw some significant, I will still argue this point with you guys, and it may not happen, but a merit-based system is the way to go. It's not part of what we do. We go across the board, and again, the biggest thing about that is, it is the system. So we gotta make that system work, because you've got to make sure, as these department heads, they've gotta get their money's worth. You know, we're always looking at trying to take care of our people, whether it's their equipment or their pay, but these numbers get bigger and bigger. And it's like this typical, if you look at a budget of any city, the two big departments are the police and fire, because you need them. If you don't have a safe community and you can't take care of the properties, you're gonna be in trouble. Our unique situation is 65. We're a small town with a very busy interstate, probably the busiest interstate on the eastern half of the country. So we have to think like, what money are we going to invest in those folks? So, all I want to say is that just remember, we're trying to take care of our people, and we gotta keep balancing that with what we can afford, so. Yes, Mike?
Okay, so I did some research on raises and stuff. There are 4 types. There's the COLA raise, performance-based, promotions, and equity. Equity is like a permanent increase to a base salary. It's granted to employees under certain circumstances, such as increased duties, but they're not getting promoted, things like that. I don't like across the board either. We have made steps in some of the departments now to where people can move up to the next step and they get more money. I think that not this budget, but at the next budget, we need to start looking at doing performance-based.
Well,
I think that it will be more incentive for people to do their job and do it well. You know, if I know I'm gonna get a raise every year, why should I do anything, right? And I don't want that. I want people to earn what they got. And I'm not saying that anybody doesn't, but I'm sure there's some here that aren't, because every company's got them. But I would like to change. I'd always been against across-the-board raises. I always have. So I would like to see us
And I
do what's more fair for everybody by performance-based. She might work 40 hours and put out 80 hours worth of work, and then this person over here has
Steve.
40 hours, and Steve, and he really works 20.
That's him.
Right, it's not fair to Tanya to bust her butt.
No, I told you, I said, we're on the same page. I think the key for that is performance includes the evaluation system. So for us in this, as we look at, we're really trying to take care of the people that work for the city, okay? And I mean that, we really do. I really love the group we have now at City Hall. Very happy with police and fire, public works, sewer. Everybody's doing well. You can see it, the performance is there. And again, I agree with you, Bonnie. You know, you have a curve of people who will do the extra, and others who just will do what they need to get by, which is fine, it's what life is, but I don't like to see the pay get it out that way, it doesn't seem like it works, so I think that's a great thing. Bonnie, maybe me, and we'll pick somebody else to work with us on this.
I agree too. I
Right.
agree with that. But there
Yeah,
is
we
there
can
is
start
a
working on it.
couple,
It'll take us some time.
there is a few employees that are still way underpaid in my
Sure.
book, you know.
And we can
And-
look at that, that's why I
Yeah,
said
we
that,
need to
that
look
that
at
gives you
that.
some flexibility to take care of those folks that, you know, I mean, in the business world, it's that way. I don't try to bring up too much of the business world, but there are things like that that are very productive for government to get the best out of everybody. Because everybody knows I have certain opinions, but, yeah. Right, Tanya? All right, well, I appreciate that. We'll work on that together. That's a great idea, and I'm glad you think that way. I hope you guys, got any thoughts about that, Mike? Paul, any thoughts about that? Because it's a good way to look at your payroll. It's a really good way to look at your payroll long-term. All right, Faith, I appreciate that too. All right. Are we good with admin? Everything okay with that one? I'm trying to stay on task, Bonnie. I'm usually, it's hard to do it, you know, it's hard to.
I'm gonna set a timer up for him or how long he's allowed to talk.
Yeah.
For each
That's
category.
right, that's right. Just, hey, set your timer now. On your mark, say go. Yeah, we don't want to be here all night.
All right, the next one's council budget.
Oh, man, that's way too high. That's way too, we need to cut that in half. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think I have anything on council.
No, I don't
We
either.
took out stuff that needed to be taken
Yep.
out.
Yep.
So I think it's the easiest one, you know.
No, it's all good, it's all good.
And I talked to Lane about his budget, and he seems really happy with it.
And we did, and Tanya and I spent some time with Lane because he's got some things out there and some decisions were made about some of the loans. So we did something to help the fire department get that one monkey off its back and kind of move forward with some of the other things. Because I think that was one of the financial burdens out there, really helped his budget for this year coming up. Yeah, and we do, we want to have the finest police department and fire department. And I think you guys have got a great group of both of them, so. Yep.
And I do think that the fire department's budget could be tight, because, in the expense side of it, not necessarily in the payroll side, but in the expense side of it, I have a little concern. I know Lane worked hard on cutting the budget, but it is something we will address if it comes up.
Yeah, and one of the things too, remember when we talked about the revenue part, we still probably have a good $1 million come back out. So maybe some of that money, if he gets into, if you guys get in a tight pinch there,
Their toys are expensive.
Yes.
their toys are expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, he's going, yes, they are. No, so I mean,
They take very good care of them.
they do. They
And,
do.
and we do start, in this budget, we start paying for the new truck that we have not received yet. So, we have I think it's $300 and something thousand dollars, that, over $300,000 that we'll pay this year.
Yeah.
And we won't get the truck until at the end of this budget or the next budget.
I want to drive it back when we get it.
You do.
Yep. Put you on the list? All right. Have you driven it? Yeah. We don't normally take questions. I mean, I told Joe we don't take, this is a special meeting.
The fire department, still has an outstanding 1.2 or 3 million on the fire truck.
Yeah, we're refinancing.
We're refinancing. It's thank you. So Joe, if you have a question, since I mean, I really don't, but I told you I'd get with you on that, yeah.
Yeah, we're refinancing that with everything else.
Yep.
So better interest rate.
We've got a good partner there. We do. All right, so, I mean, we're on the fire. You guys want to look through that and see if you got any Other thoughts? And again, a lot of this, again, I'm not, again, I wanna make sure I'm not, you got a timer going? Make sure, I don't get too far. Time. No, you're watching me, so I don't get too far out of line.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I just wanna make sure you all know, a lot of these lines you're looking at, some of it's gonna, it's some real deep, if you really wanted to do all that, I'd be more than glad to sit with you. I know it's a little lengthy in these lines. The biggest thing for you guys is to see, look at the payroll, that's always a good one, and look at some of their expenditures. The rest of it, I would encourage you not to spend a great deal of time with it, because again, it becomes the fact that you wanna oversee that they're actually spending the money in these accounts. That's the role. So I do wanna throw that out there. I mean, I know that Brad would look at some of that, probably know more than any of us up here.
Yeah, I would.
He would know that.
Explain it, understand it.
All right, see, there you go, see?
I could explain
And-
them how many times I still don't get it all.
That's okay, because like I said, they're very lengthy for some of this. What's that? What was that?
The truck show out the pump water.
Wow, is it that easy? Is it that easy? Is that, oh, that's all it is? Wow. I know, man, that's simple. All right. Well, I didn't know if you had anything else with the fire department. Any questions there? We've got admin done, we've got the council done, and we got fire done. You want to talk a little bit about the police? And look at their budget and,
Yeah, we might just cut the chief's pay.
yeah, we get that.
It always goes back to Steve.
You're the new guy. You're the new guy.
You don't, look, check your phone right now. You got my number.
I got a text.
All right.
That's doctor.
All right. Again, and one thing I do want to mention about the police department is that we made a decision with this fleet, and I can tell you up here, I don't know what all you feel about it, but I tell you that's in the interest of talking to the police department and what they need best. It's a little challenge with that a little bit. Tanya and I, we've talked a little bit with them, and we think there's some cost savings there. We've got to look at that. That was something done for whatever reasons. Is not in the best interest of the city as far as the cost. And some of the you turning the vehicles in 2 years, so we changed that a little bit. But we do, and I've been through this budget process before, and I'll tell you, please make sure that we have vehicles that run to get to us to keep us safe. You know, have the equipment for the fire department so they can take care of something in a rapid response. You know, I know we all think that way, and I know you guys support these departments, but again, with a lot of this, we just gotta monitor it and make sure that we're there, because we've got the activity, like I said, between the interstate and these warehouses. They're gonna keep those guys busy. So any comments, anything, you guys see anything that stood out to you on the police?
I have one comment
Yes,
that I want to see, maybe we're not going to get anything for this budget, but I want us to hire a couple mechanics
Oh.
for like a first shift and a second shift if needed, but we're spending way too much money outsourcing stuff that we could be doing here.
Yeah.
And I think that'll make our vehicles last longer.
Because we own them, we'll take care of them.
Right.
Are you talking about for all departments or just for?
Well, no, it'll be for all departments, but mostly we have, the most vehicles are police and fire.
We had that before.
We had it before, yes.
So I agree with that, but we're in the transitions because the way the inventory of this fleet thing goes, we're gonna take those out a little at a time. Take out 2 cars out of the lease program and buy 2.
Yeah,
So
well,
it'll
we can
take us-
start with one mechanic and then eventually move up.
And we'll look at it. Steve will
Because-
talk about it. I mean, I don't know, getting this budget thing, we wanna get it done on time, but if we come back and you see that there's money that you wanna move around, we can come back to the council and say, hey, we had allocated money here, we wanna put it for that. I don't disagree with that one either. It's 2 good ideas for Bonnie, you write that down.
But Bonnie gets 2 stars.
She get 2 stars. Oh, 3 stars. All right, no, but those are good ideas. I mean, that's a really good idea, because I know when we had it before, they took care of the cars. And maybe we'll get another year out of a car, and then instead of spending that 50,000 that year, right? So, anyway, good idea. Thank you, Miss Bonnie. So, anything else for Steve?
Nope, they keep it 50
You can go now.
You go now.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
I would like to give Steve a good, whatever you wanna call it.
Attaboy. There you go.
I have seen more policemen out since he's been here than I have seen in years.
Well, we appreciate that.
To me, as a citizen,
Yes, ma'am.
and a lot of things that's going around,
Mhm.
it makes me feel safe.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Steve, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, he made a commitment to that when he came here, And for the gentleman in the back, we
Now, if you
appreciate
slide
that.
off, I'm coming after you.
Take the other half and I'll pay it.
How much did he pay you to say that?
Yeah, that's gonna cost you, Steve.
Nobody pays me anything.
All right. Joe, thank you for that comment.
Remind me, Joe,
No, I'm serious, it does, I mean, you
Yeah.
know, we've had, you know, you see things happen in Louisville and all the way around us, let's keep it away from us, let's keep that bubble up, you know?
Yes, ma'am.
I agree.
Well, that's what, and that's a cost, right? That's an expense. So, all right.
That's good. But thank you all for
Yep.
cutting it.
Oh, I'm getting ready to do public works now. I'm leaving Tom for last.
All
Yeah.
right.
All right, Tom. He's got the shorts on today. He's ready to
Tom
go.
busted out the legs today.
Busted out.
Just on the trip, get home, get a shower, and back out the door.
Yeah.
He looks like he missed a couple shade spots
That's
there.
right.
Uh-oh. Yeah. So Public Works, I kind of left it last because I just, for you guys looking through it, we probably will look at some of any additional funds that we have. We are, I can tell you with what we're working with private donations and people helping us with the park and the aquatic center and all that, we are going to keep moving money into that fund. We do now have a fund set up for $2 million that we keep just for the payments for the 30 million. And I'd like to keep adding some money to that, but I can tell you, Tom, and we're gonna keep looking at what we do there to make sure you guys get staffed and some of the equipment that we don't have, if we're gonna use it on a regular basis. You know, rental, leasing it when we need it versus having it will weigh out those costs. But we need to start putting that on the list, because you know, next year and the year after is when it's gonna get real hot and heavy around the park in the downtown area, and wanting to keep it looking nice. So, we know there's gonna be some money, again, as we know some things are happening. And hey, listen, we'll be doing grant money. We got a small grant the other day, was very excited about that. Gave our stars for it. But we are doing more grant writing. I know the police is starting on that. I know Lane has always done a pretty good job of that, and he's got the big one there. But any money we can get, maybe it is something for Public Works. You know, we'll look at that. We'll get somebody to start writing those. I know you're not gonna do it. That would be a no.
Arthur can help you.
Okay, Arthur can help. Yes, ma'am.
On the grant writing?
Yes, ma'am.
In the future, when these things start happening, or before they start happening, would it be a better idea to have one grant writer for all the departments?
Well, we're at a situation that there's some of it now, depending on who does it, we could look at that, but we're just in the infant stages of it. I mean, that may be something we'll do. I mean,
Later on,
absolutely.
yes.
We'll look at somebody that may be doing it for all of us here. So, and we have a great support group. We haven't talked a lot about KLC. I'm telling you what, being in this position, I gotta tell you, they've been really good. And by the way, September, mark your calendars down. We got another one to go to.
Can't go.
Oh, you can't? All
I'm
right,
down in employees, so I can't go.
all right.
Can I take her place?
It's really informative. Yes, ma'am.
It was.
Ms. Jennifer?
So I was just gonna get us back on track.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Fine.
So, and I was
Oh,
just gonna say,
6:30.
when we had the meetings, the one thing I brought up for Public Works is also that we need, mechanics, because we spend a lot of money on repairs for vehicles and stuff like that and equipment. We need mechanics for Public Works. We don't have mechanics. We send it, cause that's one thing I asked was, do we repair our equipment or is it being sent out? And is that why we have such a high number budgeted?
Well,
And
just,
I just thought.
oh, no, that's a great question. And so it kind of goes back to what Bonnie was talking about, the police department, Jennifer.
Yeah.
It's a great question. So we've got to move to that, but right now, I can tell you, with the pay scales you look at and what these people make, we're way out of their league. So it really is, that's why we source it out a lot. But
Yes.
it doesn't mean maybe somewhere between now, the thought process and looking at it, sometimes who we're using.
Yeah,
Maybe
I-
we look,
yeah.
maybe looking at who we're using, do a little shopping, maybe a chance, but it's tough. It's tough to get good mechanics.
It
That's-
is.
It really is. So, but I don't.
I know, cause I do.
Yeah. Oh. So you know, huh?
I know what he makes.
All right. Yeah, so that is a challenge, but again, it goes back to everything else. When we're doing that, like Bonnie mentioned, we start owning it more, right? We take care of our equipment a little longer, so.
But yeah, but that's why I said,
Okay.
you know, like right here, we've got, like, that's a big chunk of money that's budgeted for maintenance of the equipment, and I just feel like if we had that,
I
we
think
could
that's,
cut that cost out and have our mechanic. There's always gonna be something we gotta source out.
oh, sure.
Even if we hired a part-time,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, that's, we get it started, Jennifer. Yeah. No, it's, again, it goes back to the
I'll
same
take
concept.
half a star.
Half a
since
star.
Bonnie, you know.
Half a star
Bonnie
for,
started it.
half a star for Jennifer. All right.
Okay, what
I
else
wrote
did
that
I
in.
talk about?
And I want you to know, for a rookie here, she has some pretty good
She
questions.
does.
I gotta
Thank
tell
you
you.
all.
Oh, Princess, I'm sorry, Princess. Let's get back to Princess. But no, some good questions, and a lot of times, we don't want you to think there's any question that's dumb. I mean, you guys are new to this, ask what you gotta ask, because we wanna make sure that you're comfortable with it. I know, like I said, some of the veterans, like Faith and Bonnie and Mike, have been around a little bit. You guys know, but, you know, I mean, Brad, really, you're kind of a veteran in your own way, too. I don't want to, you're in between the rookies and the veterans there.
And I'm trying to help them as much as I can.
Okay, okay.
You know,
I appreciate that.
molding them
You're molding them, all right.
to ask questions.
That was my biggest thing about
Okay.
the park, the public works, that was it.
Yeah, and it's really gonna expand.
Everything else looked good on hers.
Yeah. And guys, I want to reemphasize again, always make sure once this is passed, really look at your numbers. And I'll look at them too, and I'll bring it to you. If I see something that's well, I'll bring it to you. I don't mind. I want to make sure that you see everything, and because I might be warning you, hey, we've got a lot of money spent here, I'm going to need to get with Tanya and see where we're going to make some concessions. That'll happen, depending on what happens in our city, especially when it comes to water and the drainage. We've got some serious.
And I can argue with him well.
Oh, she does. She does. We've had a number of visits together. But it's, you know, it's.
Debating,
Debates?
debates.
All right. Well, like I said, I hope you've liked kind of what we did with the budget. I appreciate your compliments on the budget process that we used to get started. We wanted you guys to see, you know, that's where a lot of that's done. Out here is supposed to make sure the public knows that we're working to get it done, to get things squared away, because we do have a lot of cool stuff coming up. But I want to make sure that we give you some educational process, because it's a lengthy thing to learn all this stuff. I hope it was helpful, the budget process that we did this year. Okay.
I do wanna say, the 100,000 we spent out of parks for the barrier wall was a great investment. It looks really, really nice now to see that instead of that worn out, falling down fence.
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, you can.
Well, I wanted to ask Lisa, do you live by the barrier wall?
I do not.
Okay, so you can't tell me if you can see a difference in the sound?
You can't,
You can, you know,
and I can tell you
yeah.
that because of the baseball. You
Okay.
cannot tell the difference.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was actually, Coach Ryan told somebody else that told me that it doesn't make that should have been taller, just a little bit taller. I really think, and I think the one we have at Heritage Hill is taller. Hey, I think the one at Heritage Hill is taller, the one that they're working on right now. It's pretty tall compared to the one, they're building one, they put a barrier between the patio homes right there of Cedar Grove Road. I think it's gonna be taller than the one that's on the interstate because of all of that noise from the industrial park.
I was told last year by the transportation department that it was supposed to be higher,
Yeah.
that it's not.
Yeah, it's not very high.
And you can still hear those cars,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and that's an opportunity to get.
That noise phones right now.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah, I hear it really well in my house.
Oh, I can too.
Yeah.
I can hear over on Cedar Grove Road or something with the roads, when they go off and they get those little bumpity things. I'll be laying in bed.
Bumpity
Oh,
things?
bump, bump, bump. And I'm like, somebody's bringing their trash can in. That's what it sounds like.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, a lot of that noise bounces off the
Warehouse.
GameStop
Yes.
warehouse. So you look at how tall that thing is, it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's even worse now that they're moving out of there,
yeah.
so.
All right, so just a quick thing, let's look at this overhead, since we didn't mention it, I just want you all to see that and see where a lot of that money, if you look at those allocated costs, the utilities and things we put in there, I just want to see you see that, and again, it was a great idea of Tanya and Darren came up with it to really, it was just a lot of work the way we're doing it. And so you guys know, part of the things that we're doing now, we streamlined the email, we're going to an email for everybody, it's gonna be the .gov. We're doing the QuickBooks, we're starting some of our payroll on QuickBooks to get it done quicker. All right, so we're getting things to be more efficient when it comes to getting new numbers. You know, there's a lot of things that have been going on here, but we're gonna get that taken care of. So, but the overhead thing was just a simple way to streamline, again, something that was really a kind of a hassle for an accounting standpoint. So when you see anything like that, and remember, you know, we're off in our first reading on Monday, but again, anytime between now and then and afterwards, you've got your department heads. Now that you have his number, you can call the police department.
I'm calling you at 2 a.m.
Hey, can we, hey, Bonnie, on your comment about the fire, just get with Lane and finalize. I'm telling you, so we're actually gonna take a course, or not a course, but a seminar on how to understand that. Because I get it, but I want a little in-depth, because I think the biggest thing is, we wanted to make sure with what happened before the election and now, that we get them all taken care of, right? That's what we wanna do, we wanna get everybody taken care of, because we got a good group here, so. All right, Faith, you're not in too bad a shape. Mike, any questions, you wanna add some things in here? Doing okay? Okay, all right, well, if you, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
On the park grant,
No?
why do we not separate that out from the regular budget?
Uh,
Like, why do, because it just, I feel like it makes it look,
Yeah, it has to be,
okay.
So, can you repeat the
oh,
question?
it's only something like $30 million in our
I was
budget.
just wondering, like, so we have like separated monies, you know, like, there's always a third column and it has like ARPA funds. Or
Yeah.
Why didn't we do a column for that park grant?
Because that park grant's really going into the general fund. So MAP money, municipal aid money, has to be kept separate.
Okay,
And the ARPA money is in general fund, but it is in a
Yes.
separate account,
right.
checking account. And this 30 million will also be in a separate
Separate
account. So we have, Monday night, we will, be doing a resolution to open an account at West Banco to get the first draw to, they will wire the money in.
Yeah.
So it will go through a separate checking account, but it is in the general fund.
Okay.
And that's where the debt is paid from also, is
Yes,
from the general fund.
yes.
So,
So we, as we expend funds from that 30 million, we're gonna have to amend the budget for each account that, or?
no, I don't think
or
we'll
how
have
do
to
we-
amend the budget, because we can pay it out of, so we've got, this capital, city and park capital expansion, the last page in your packet.
Yeah.
It has 7 million allocated, and that's what we expect to spend in this upcoming year,
Just the first year.
just the
Yes.
first year.
But if we draw more, we're just drawing it out of that.
Yeah, we're still
account.
making our
We
monthly
can-
payment.
Yeah.
We make a monthly payment.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
and if we did, that's a good question. If you do, she's gotta, that we will have to bring to you,
Yeah.
hey, 7 million is what we're gonna draw, but if we draw more, you're
Right.
gonna know about it. And then,
Right.
Yeah,
again,
that's, like, I know that, but like, would we have to say, yes, we will, do we have to bring it to a
We-
vote
we'll have
to
to
pull
vote.
more money out if we haven't
We
budgeted
just-
enough?
We would have to bring it in, because that money is, gonna be sitting in an account.
Okay,
It is our money, we have to account for the 30 million when we, sign the closing documents and.
yeah, so you're part of this, say, we can pull whatever we want out of that. What
Right.
your approval is when we get ready to spend it. You're gonna have to approve anything we spend.
Yes.
That's
oh,
where,
so,
yeah, that 30
So
million,
we're
even though
only
we got it, you
spending
still
7.
have to approve
On
what
this-
we're spending,
Okay.
on the park and
Oh.
the street.
oh, well, I was gonna say, with the budget of 7, do we have to approve the 7 each time?
No, you have.
Because we already budgeted for it.
We've got the money there. You're going to approve each thing we
When you
do.
go to spend that 7 million.
You guys
That's
will
when
tell
we
you,
have
hey,
to
this
get
is what we
it
got.
If it's over 30,000,
Yeah.
it'll have to be bid and,
Yeah.
those
Yes.
projects, a lot of those projects are gonna be over 30,000.
Yeah, a lot of this is gonna be,
Yes.
yeah, big money. There's gonna be very few small projects like that.
They'll be bid out too, correct?
Right.
They will be, they
Yes.
have to be bid out. That's correct. And we definitely wanna do that because we definitely wanna be able to.
Will those be done by resolution like the ARPA money? is?
No, these will be votes. You'll approve any expenditure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, resolution's only for the ARPA.
Yes.
Would be,
I don't, I don't know, Mike. Will we have to do that?
ARPA money has to be done by.
Yeah, that's a regulation of them. That's not our regulation.
Right, that's not our regulation, that's their regulation. So we put money in the budget for property acquisition, which has already came to you all for approval on
Yes.
that.
Yep.
So, that won't have to come back.
No.
And then the capital plans will be bid out, but that's not necessarily approved by the council. It is through the bid process that it's approved.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll say, hey, we're gonna do this part of the park, and then we'll get the bids all set up for it. And then, cause that's the one of the process that we really wanna keep going, cause there's gonna be a time. We're gonna get it to you as quick as possible, because there are certain schedules we wanna try to stay on. But,
And those capital projects may not be finished in a year. So
Right.
this aquatic center may take a year and a half to complete. So it's gonna carry over from one to another. And
Yeah.
I expect it to take longer than that.
I know that all of this is gonna be, we've been pretty much committed to, knock on wood, if it's not, that something doesn't happen, but 4 years, this will all be done. Basically about 3.5, Arthur, 3 to 3.5, come on.
Come on.
Commitment, yeah, commitment.
I'm gonna give you 4. I'll give you 4. Right there, right there. Right there. All right.
Tight on air in here.
Why are you just sitting here? Get to work.
Get to work.
What got us on the street right now?
Yeah, they've had a couple situations like that.
Yeah, Yes, right.
Oh, that's not good, Tom. That's not good.
So as this 23 million that we're not gonna use this year is sitting, will be
Oh.
sitting in an account
Yeah.
on interest.
Yeah.
And we have a great interest rate at this point.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
So did we account for that in
No.
the okay, so
We
I
have
told
not
you that.
accounted for that.
That's,
So,
yeah, that's extra.
Right, so are we just gonna use that to offset the payments, or are we
Yeah.
using
Well,
it?
so remember, we want to, any money that we can move into that $2 million account, I'd love to have it. I'm just gonna tell you guys, I'd love to have 4 million after next year.
I'd like to have
Yes.
6.
Right?
Right.
I'd like to have
I like
6.
your thinking.
Well, and part of this is gonna be when we start negotiating with businesses that wanna be a part of what we're doing here.
Right.
That's gonna help us, and I mean, Brad, I will have a cold beer with you if we got $6 million after June.
And you're buying.
I'm buying, and I'm buying. Oh, yeah, we'll do it. If this is a team effort, you get that done. But I do, I'll buy you 2 beers. But I do appreciate you guys going through the process. We changed it up, but like I said, I want to do something that was effective for you. We can always tweak it, right? If there's some things that you think, hey, maybe we can do this a little differently, I'll do whatever. I just want it to be a good, sound budget process that you guys can get what you need to get out of it. But the work starts when we get that budget started. That first month, you keep looking at things, and Tanya will get your numbers next week. I know we've been really busy. We've had some really crazy stuff. Should see her desk.
So
But-
auditors are here the last week of May, first week of June, so.
Yeah,
um,
so we're trying to get you some numbers so you get through
Yes.
for a couple of weeks, and then, getting that second audit done, we're back on a little bit of a schedule.
Right.
And then we get the one done in October, we're ahead of schedule. Hey, let me say it again, we're ahead of schedule on financial audits. That's pretty cool, so, a lot of good stuff. And you guys, again, for all of you up here, you can put the list together, 4.5 months, you guys have done some really cool stuff. And I really do appreciate that, I know I say that a lot lately, but I do think that's what it comes down to. Is working together, getting stuff done, so I do appreciate that. And then I do love what you guys do on the beautification has really come along. They got some people really interested in doing some work, and that's just a small thing of a bigger thing, and that's what's really cool to see some of these things happen. Food truck invasion,
Yeah, everybody
all right,
come.
we can't bring that up,
Invasion.
it's a special meeting.
12 to 5.
That was a joke, that was a joke.
I'll let walk with the mayor Saturday.
Yep, all right, we can throw that out there too, all right. All right, any more questions, anything you want, anybody else?
I just had one question.
Absolutely.
All of the 7 million on the capital expansion
Yes, sir.
projects is bond money. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, 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 sir.
And the, almost 7 that we committed to back up the sewer.
That's different.
But I'm saying, that is going to be basically guaranteed with out of the 23 that's left that's not appropriated
So,
anywhere?
so that promise that we could cover.
Right.
That 7 million, 10 million until they
Right.
could get financing,
Right.
to get that grant, does not come out of this bond money. We
Comes out of our
can't-
bank accounts.
It will come out of our bank accounts.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
just,
is that money in our budget? It is not in our budget. It is in savings accounts and,
It's
so
not-
part of it is in our operating account.
So how much interest is the sewer department gonna pay us?
There will be a document.
Oh, yeah. Arthur, get ready. All right. Well,
It'll be
and
fair.
just so you all know what we're talking about is that there's an expansion project for the sewer department that needs to happen in the next couple of years. And what's nice about it is through grants and through this conversation, that they've been working with a number of people, Kipta, Felicia. They've been working hard. That 20 million is only now 10 million to the city, approximately there. But it's nice to see that we're able to do these type of things to save money where we can. Saving the city 10 million, and that expansion, we'll make that over. We'll make that money back in 5 years or less. Because of the expansion. There's a lot more coming, a lot more residents, a lot more businesses. All right, thank you, Mike, appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to see some things trying to move forward,
Yes, sir.
because I know Arthur mentioned that, about $1 million for that pit they call number 1 over there, right? And that's been in budgets before, but nothing happened. So, I don't mind borrowing the money, I don't mind allocating the money. That's the money I call just sitting there doing nothing that could have been used for something else if it's not gonna happen. So, fill that pit up with whatever you got for $1 million.
Fill that pit up, would you, Arthur? All right. Well, are there any other questions?
done, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Oh, you broke the rule.
Not a regular meeting.
Oh, it's not a regular meeting. It's safe, it's safe. We're good, we're good. Woo, we thought we had a real crisis there. All right, can I get a roll call, please?
You can. Ms. Portman,
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Mangan,
Yes.
Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Ms. Enlow.
Yes.
We are good to go.
All right, good night, folks, and have a good one. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
You were starting to tread on shaky ground.